Alright guys, welcome to RC Mojo. This week we're going to add a few more lights to the Hercules hobby trailer. At the moment, the only running lights we have are the ones on the box, 2 per side. They work a treat, but in the dark it's quite difficult to gauge the length of the truck. To get around this, we're going to need to add some more lights. Now, a year or two ago, I saw a very nice trailer with a very simple solution. The builder had simply glued some flat rectangular LEDs under the aluminium angle. Not perfect, but it looked just fine. For me though, I'd like something that will take a few knocks, so just gluing the LEDs in place isn't quite going to cut it. So I've printed up some little mounts that will fit under the screws that attach the aluminium angle to the base of the trailer. The mount is fairly straightforward. I'll put them up on Thingiverse if you're interested. There's 2 types, one with an angled end to try and cast a little bit of light downwards, and one with a square end that just about squeezes in above the wheel arches towards the back. To fit them, all we do is remove one of the screws and then refit it with the mount. The screws are still plenty long enough to pass all the way through the internal brackets, so there's no worries about weakening the trailer. Unfortunately, to get at a couple of the screws, and to make routing the wires a bit easier, we're going to need to remove the box and the chassis, along with the wheel arches, and possibly even a wheel. Okay, box first then. We'll need to remove the floor panel with its 6 self-tapping screws. Now, because I've got a bit of a rat's nest of wiring going on in there, it's going to be a little bit awkward. We'll have to keep the box attached and just try and swing it out of the way. This trailer, of course, is using prototype electronics, so it's all a bit messy. But I do have what should be the final set of schematics for the remote light controller and motor driver. I just need to lay out the PCBs, get them made, and do some actual optimization of the firmware. Hopefully sometime before the end of the decade. I've also taken the arch off. It was just held on with 4 M3 screws and some flange nuts. Access is pretty good, you just need to keep a finger on the nuts so you don't drop them. Right, it's sometime later now, as evident by the lighting change, not helped by me forgetting to close the curtains. In my defence, it was a lovely snowy day outside and I had the curtains wide open while soldering up the LEDs. I've wired it up so each LED has its own local resistor. That way, within reason, it won't matter too much what we do with the power supply. The LEDs should be safe. They're then connected to a common power and ground that runs back to the light controller. Here's a quick diagram to give you a vague idea. I'm using 220 ohm resistors at the LEDs, which should be bright enough that you wouldn't want to look directly at them. They'd be a bit too bright for running lights, but I do have a plan that'll eventually need the extra brightness. For now, I'm just going to pop an extra 1K resistor in series with the supply just to take the brightness down. It's not the best thing to do, but it'll do for now and will let me do the next little upgrade without having to rewire the whole lot. With the LED mount screwed in, we can start clipping the wires into the clips. Now, I fitted them to the rear of the chassis when we fitted the tail lights, just to make sure that the wires don't end up getting caught in the wheels. Up front we're going to need some new clips, but first, since the trailer's been used a fair bit, we'll clean up the chassis with an alcohol pad, just to make sure there's no oil or grease to stop the clips from sticking. These are the little clips. They have a self-adhesive back, so all we do is peel the paper off and stick them to the chassis. They're very useful, and on a setup like this makes it really easy to add more wiring later, or remove what's already been fitted if we want to change something. With the wiring neatly fitted along the chassis, we can pass the feed wires in through the holes in the side of the box, ready to be connected up. Now, of course, this is just one side done, but rather than do all that again in the video, I think we'll just cut to the next bit and connect things up. Well, here we go then. Here's the box refitted and the wires in place. These red and black pairs are the running lights, and they're wired into a Y lead with a single pair going off to the light controller. It's really looking a bit messy in there, but it's safe, and despite the clutter, the poor little 2.5 gig radio seems to manage okay. Hopefully the new boards will be about half the size and have all the connections coming off one side, making for a much neater install. All that's left to do then is refit the box floor using the 6 self-tappers and give it a proper test. First, we're going to need to power up the grand hauler and arm the lights. And now the wireless trailer expansion board is looking for a trailer to talk to. Now we can plug in a little 2S LiPo to the trailer and turn on the electronics. After a couple of seconds, the two units start talking and the trailer lights on. Now there's a nice status light on the trailer electronics, but it's right up inside the box so you can't actually see it, which isn't very useful. The other telltale is the brake lights would be on matching the truck, but of course I put the cab in the perfect position so you can't actually see them on camera. Either way, if we cycle through the lights, the last ones to come on are the new running lights. Now I might end up connecting them to the same output as the ones on the box doors, so they all come on at once, but this will do for now. The only thing is they're a bit dimmer than I'd hoped they'd be. If I turn all the lights off and move the camera down a bit, you can see them better. Looks like they could have done with just a bit more current. That's going to be that 1K resistor. Now we might have been better off with something about half the resistance. But it doesn't matter too much at this stage. We know they work and that 1K will eventually come out completely. The real test, of course, is running at the Midlands Club with the lights off. You can see they still don't look all that bright, but for running lights they're probably not all that far off. Maybe a bit more brightness would be nice, but of course close up they do stand out even more. Now there is of course another way of installing running lights. You can get or make little orange lenses and drill holes along the aluminium angle. These lenses do look rather good, especially when there's a set along the top and the bottom, but they are a lot more work to install, probably best done when actually building the trailer. Anyway, that's going to be it for this week. Unfortunately I don't have much footage of the trucks running around this time. I was too busy driving and playing with the wireless camera. I think Dave recorded a fair bit on his phone, so if you want to see more trucks driving around, you'll find a link in the description. So, as always, thanks for watching. Like if you liked, subscribe if you haven't, and comment if you got something to say. Bye guys!